by the OECS Competitive Business Unit. And this series is really looking at the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the creative industry sector. Last week, we started with the music and entertainment sector. And this week, we are doing fashion and design today. And on Thursday, we're going to be focusing on film, audiovisual, and animation. I want to welcome everybody, the participants, the panelists, our moderator, and OECS staff, CBU staff, who have joined into this afternoon's discussion. This webinar series really is in an effort to engage creative entrepreneurs and artists generally insofar as looking at where we are insofar as this really global, or what do you say, a pandemic is concerned, and how it is affecting the creative economies in the OECS. We felt it was absolutely necessary that as a sector that we engage ourselves in some discussions about where we are and how much it has affected our lives and our livelihoods in particular. Of course, it has affected families, communities, and countries in the Caribbean, in the OECS, and around the world. We feel that as an institution, the OECS, that we had a responsibility to bring together creatives and to see how we can, in fact, collaboratively address some of the issues going forward. We recognize that going forward, it will not be easy. The situation is going to be really tremendous and challenging for all of us, not just in fashion, but throughout the creative industries sector and the creative economy on a whole. So this afternoon, what we are hoping to do is, first of all, to look at the impact on the fashion and design sector. That's the first part. And then secondly, for us to see how we can look at measures, both at the micro level, that is to say, at the firm level, what kinds of things are we need to do at the business end, and of course, at the macro level, at the policy end, at the national level, to restart, to reset our fashion and design sector, and of course, the creative economy on a whole. So we have put together what I consider to be an impressive panel of experienced, creative, talented designers, business owners, and executives involved in the sector that is so vital to us. I just want to say that the team that we have assembled this afternoon, very much part of the work of CBU over the last 6-7 years. I am pleased this afternoon that we were able to get all of them to agree within me talking to them within a minute or two, agreeing to be part of this panel. And this afternoon, you are going to be hearing them, and you will know why I speak often highly about them, their passion, their drive, their energy and determination to succeed in this very complex and globally competitive industry that is fashion and design. So without further ado, I want to call on the officer in charge of the CBU, Mr. Ricardo James, to give us some words to welcome us here this afternoon. Mr. James.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So please indicate that you can hear me. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Ricardo James, and I am the technical specialist for export development at the Competitive Business Unit and also officer in charge. It is indeed a very good pleasure for us and the team at CBU to present and to organize this webinar series. This is the second, as Sobers mentioned, in a series of webinars that we are having in this very unprecedented period of time to remain engaged and connected with our stakeholders and clients in the various productive sectors. The COVID-19 pandemic and the measures that have been taken by national, regional, and global governments to prevent the spread of the virus has been, and I've used that word already, but it has been unprecedented. The impact has been very significant, basically bringing all economic activity or almost all economic activity to a halt as a result of the necessary lockdowns and curfews and closing of borders and the required social distancing guidelines and protocols that have been put in place a lot of business activity has had to be stopped or slowed down or changed. And the impact on businesses, as we can imagine, has been loss of revenue, loss of sales, inability to undertake various aspects of operations, whether it's sourcing your inputs, whether it's your production, whether it's getting your goods, if you are a manufacturer, to your markets. If you are a service provider, particularly in this sector we're talking about, in the creative industries, the impact could be in different ways, but still an impact. And today we would want to hear from you, from the panelists who are key practitioners, recognized practitioners in the field, but also from the participants in the audience, so to speak, what the impact has been on them, on your businesses. The OECS CBU, of course, our role as a regional business support organization is including working through and supporting our national BSOs, business support organization, is coming up with different programs, services, and measures to support the development of enterprises, of businesses in the OECS, developing your exports, assisting in developing your exports, in developing your trade, your competitiveness. And as we are going through this period, it is important for us to understand how we can provide support and assistance that the various business enterprises will need at this time. So in this discussion, we would want to hear how has COVID-19 and the pandemic itself directly and indirectly through the measures that have been taken to fight it, how has that impacted your business model, your business operations? Specifically, we're talking to persons in the fashion and design. So you may not be manufacturing per se, you are creating design products that you might be selling or distributing in stores, or you might be selling designs, or you might be putting on shows. So however the COVID-19 has impacted on your business, we would want to hear. We would also want to hear, are there any opportunities that this crisis has provided? Because a lot of times, one of the wise saying is that every crisis, or in every crisis, there is sometimes an opportunity, some sort of blessing in disguise, so to speak. So are there any opportunities that you have identified and you think that you may have already started taking advantage of? In this crisis also, it means that, as I mentioned, loss of revenue, loss of sales, impact on your income, on working capital, your ability to meet your financial commitments, to pay your employees. What sort of support is needed? The governments, the national governments have begun rolling out various stimulus packages, support measures at the national level to support different sectors. Is there a certain set of packages or support that is needed for the creative industries, and particularly for the fashion and design, that you have not yet seen proffered at the national level? But I'm looking forward to the future. Of course, we hear the new term called new normal, so that even when we have gone through this crisis, when perhaps as we start gradually opening the economies immediately before a vaccine is available, we might still have to maintain social distancing, so there will be need to adjust how we do business for a time. But even as the crisis is fully over, we sometimes never go back to the way it was. September 11th had changed the way that we travel. So we still haven't gone back to not requiring the surrender of your liquids at the airports. That did not happen before September 11, and it has continued even now. So there are certain things that will continue afterwards. So how will we need to adjust and change the way we do business? The digital space, digital platforms, digital transformation. Those are ways in which we are now seeing, even now we are having a meeting that is not face-to-face, and it can still be effective. Businesses are learning that their staff can work from home. and probably still remain productive. So is there a way in the fashion and design sector moving forward that that you will not return back to in pre-COVID-19? So these are some of the things that we would want to hear. I think I have already surpassed my 5 minutes limit. So let me stop here and just thank all of the panelists for your time, your valuable time, your insights, your experience, qualifications, intellect that you will be bringing to this discussion, and also thank all the participants and the team who at the CBU has contributed. So I will now hand over back to whether it is Sobers maybe, who will then introduce the host and say, let us wish us very successful and fruitful discussions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ricardo, for those words of introduction. Just to let our participants and panelists know that our moderator is having some technical difficulties out there in Trinidad. And so he is trying to reset his computer to rejoin us. So we're going to get him to come back on. I know Jamilia was trying to get him to come back on so that he can join the conversation. So in the absence of Richard, what I can do is to get us started. So I will act as the moderator in the meantime until Richard gets in. So here are some of the rules. First of all, to the participants, we just want to let you know that this is not a normal video conference. This is a webinar, and the way it is done, we have panelists who are expected to speak and to answer questions. The participants will be allowed to post questions on the chat, and we will see some of the questions. We'll try to answer as many of the questions as we possibly can. You can also raise your hands, and then we can, during the question and answer period, we will be able to take some of your questions and to allow you to speak from the audio set. So these are some of the rules, the ground rules. So basically, it will allow you to still contribute to the discussion, but throughout the discussion, we expect everybody's mic to be muted, and you will not be seen, but you can be heard during the question and answer period by raising your hands in the area that you are supposed to do that. So let me just get into the meat of things. I haven't seen Richard come on. He's having some difficulty. So just want to say that this afternoon, as I said earlier, we have asked a number of our fashion industry practitioners to join us in this conversation. So let me just say that we are very pleased with their effort to come in here this afternoon and to speak to us about some of those issues. We have, first of all, we have from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have Kimia Glasgow, who is the owner, manager for her own Kimia Glasgow brand. We have Tariba Donacimento from St. Lucia, who is from the well-known Membet brand. Am I seeing Tariba? I'm not seeing her face, but Tariba has joined us. So I know that Tariba is there. We have Katie Cotterbill from out of Martinique. So we're adding a little bit of French West Indies flavor this afternoon with Martinique. And Katie is a business executive from out of Martinique. She's part of a brand and a business in Martinique. She's also part of a PR company in Trinidad, focusing on the fashion industry. And then, so we will introduce everybody when we ask them to speak. So just to say also, we have Christine Fraser from the BVI. So further down the chain of islands to speak to us about her own experience, you know. And then of course we have Jamilia Alexander, who is from Trinidad and Tobago, and she's the co-owner of a company called UpPoint Inc. They have done work with the OECS CBU in recent past. So she will also be speaking with us this afternoon. Jamilia was supposed to be introducing Richard, but since Richard is not in, so what I will do is let me introduce Jamilia, and then
Richard is there.
Start the conversation. So Jamila Alexander is somebody we've bounced upon in the last couple of years through conversations with Christine Fraser. And we found the work she was doing online. Her company has an online platform in training designers. And last year, we actually mounted an important training program with several designers from across the OECS. I must say that program was very, very well organized. And of course, we saw a lot of positive results coming out of that experience. So this afternoon, we have the pleasure in inviting Miss Alexander from Trinidad and Tobago, not in the OECS, but somebody who's been working with us to speak about some of the issues related to the impact of COVID on her business and in general, looking at the impact on the business of fashion. Jamila, I want to invite you to speak.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Everyone is hearing me. Sobers, you hearing me? This is the first time.
Yes, I'm hearing you. But let's speak up a little bit louder because...
No problem. That's not a problem at all for me. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having us, Sobers and the other members of the CBU. Thank you very much for the opportunity to have this discussion at a timely one about the impact of this pandemic on the creative industries or the orange economies. As the CEO of Uppoint is essentially a cloud-based platform that allows brands to manage their value chains digitally. So you could well understand that Uppoint was essentially built for a time like this. And in the time that we developed Uppoint, about 2.5 to 3 years ago, we started the process of developing it. We understood that there were some issues that may arise. There were some risks in the value chain and the supply chain. And the fashion supply chain, specifically for Caribbean fashion firms, was really at risk as it relates to geographic issues, sourcing resources, process management and process mapping, and also just a full-on digitized process. But what we also noticed is that countries around the world had similar issues. And it wasn't just a geographic issue. It was essentially a price point issue, and small and medium brands had this problem. So specifically, as it relates to Uppoint, the effect that COVID-19 has had on our business is that it has brought a little more awareness to the business and made it more relevant to most people. So most times people thought that digitization of their processes and process mapping specifically, and cyclical business activities, that was an option. Now it is a necessity. And this is something we foresaw. Specifically as it related to geopolitical problems, we saw that emerging with the trade blocs and trade wars that were happening with the US and other countries. And we also noticed that we were having issues connecting with some of our stakeholders in other countries. So now Uppoint is probably one of the better options for managing your fashion business as a brand. What we also noticed is that in the building out of the other parts of the platform, that services was also a necessary, and digital products was also a necessary part of the value chain. And the fashion services value chain wasn't realized. So as of December last year, we started developing the services platform, which is now live. So what that meant is that brands or service providers around the world, inclusive of designers who have the acumen and they have the skills to be able to provide services or to provide digital products, are able to do so. Similarly, brands that needed to access digital products and services are able to access those. But specifically, I would say for Uppoint, it has been bittersweet, right? So it's great to see the validation of this idea, and knowing that this issue would have arisen beforehand, or something similar to this. Of course, we couldn't expect that COVID-19 specifically would happen, but we knew that the supply chain was at risk. What is bittersweet about it is that UpPoint would have developed this process and this platform, and the support for digital platforms beyond retail, and we're talking about process marketing platforms, as well as the support for designers who need access to cutting edge innovative opportunities, inclusive of capacity building, funding for marketing, that marketing opportunities that are not necessarily conventional, that are more digital based, funding for production of smaller quantities to be able to respond very quickly to demands that may arise, and the opportunity to scale hasn't been there, right? And this is a Caribbean-wide problem, and we've also noticed this issue with some of our users in sub-Saharan Africa who may have been at trade shows, and they would have been in the wrong part of the trade show. They are brands and they're in the sourcing part of the trade show, selling their products. And so we noticed that this was an issue that was happening. And now we are in a position where we're thinking about how do we react to COVID-19, and we react to similar situations, and we are looking at the new normal, which for a lot of our brands was the normal, right? It was the old normal, right? And so now we're playing catch up, and the rest of the world is looking for digital solutions and looking for brands who are engaging in process mapping, digitizing their businesses. And this doesn't mean replacing the physical aspects of your business, but it means complementing it and optimizing it. So now it's bittersweet because we foresaw this happening, and now we're here and we are looking to see what we can do. Luckily, and I really would like to commend the OECS and the designers in the OECS. In the Eastern Caribbean. Luckily, the OECS saw this vision back in 2018 and started mobilizing towards providing digital solutions, assistance with funding for those digital solutions for designers within the Eastern Caribbean. And that is really, really commendable because a lot of other organizations didn't catch that vision. And I would really, even this talk today is really a testimony to the fact that the OECS is forward thinking. But what it also says is that small axes cut down big trees. So no matter how small you are, no matter where you are, you might be in a dot in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, you are doing something that's innovative and it is going to count. And so that's what we've experienced. What has also happened is that we've seen that even brands trying to make that transition from the current processes and that essential hustle of keeping their businesses alive and transitioning into a new process, it has been very difficult for them. So making that jump, that quantum leap in terms of innovation, which most times innovation is a quantum leap, they have had those issues. And really trying to be able to fit it into their lives. And some of our entrepreneurs are part-time entrepreneurs, and it has been very difficult for them to schedule, right? We also see that there's a need for upward vertical mobility for creative industries and our creative industry practitioners. We need to look at our designers as brands or brand owners and not just designers, because they have taken the opportunity. 99% of the brands have a logo, they have a digital presence, and they have been pushing a brand. They haven't been pushing a name, unless the name, of course, is a part of the brand, Hi Kimia, right? So it is a brand that they've been pushing. They've been pushing an enterprise, and they should be treated as such. Brand owners are not only here to provide employment as it relates to physical labor, only stitching, that's a big part of it, but they're also here to provide opportunities for practitioners in the industry who would be able to participate in their brand's livelihood. So capacity building should go beyond access to training. There's a need for capacity building to go into manufacturing and providing designers with the capacity to be able to take advantage of small opportunities in real time in the fashion industry, just like it has been for other industries.
Amelia,
there's also a need for value chain support.
1 minute,
yep.
Wrap up. Yeah, for this one.
There's a need for value chain support for fashion brands. And this goes beyond just, as I said, capacity building, but as it relates to having access to accounting and legal specifically for the fashion industry. So these are some of the things that we need to take a look at beyond COVID so that our brands would be able to optimize their old normal and be beacons for the new normal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamelia, for that. I think that's a good way for us to start, really giving us a sort of a description in terms of the digital solutions that is required in this period, and the fact that, yes, we've been affected, but there are some things that we can do. And so we will go into some of that later on when we look at some of the solutions to what we need to do going forward. So thank you very much. Richard is still having difficulty. Richard, are you hearing me?
Richard is there.
Yeah, I think he's having difficulty. So we're gonna continue. I think he's hearing, but he's having difficulty to come on. So having heard from Trinidad, we're gonna go down a little bit. So can we go to SVG? We want to go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and my dear friend, Kimia Glasgow. Kimia is a veteran in this fashion business. She has been with the CBU's work for many years. She is the owner of an important brand in St. Vincent and the Grenadines called Kimia Glasgow brand. She's also part of a project that we have with Martinique, that is the OECS and Martinique, called the Teca Project. And so I have no difficulty this afternoon in introducing Kimia to you, ladies and gentlemen. Kimia Glasgow.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me.
You have to speak up, Kimia, so we can hear you.
Can you hear me any better now?
Yes.
Yes. So I have been in the business for, I would say, about 25 years, because I graduated in, I'm aging myself now, 1995 from fashion school in at Barbados Community College. My business would have started in 2000 officially. So I've been occupying the space for a while. My primary focus is on resort wear, but I've really been working on having an ethical and sustainable Caribbean brand, a modern take on classic Caribbean. And we've been doing accessories and home goods. And we have now recently, under the Teca Project, launched into the fragrance field. In terms of where COVID, it's important to talk about where COVID met me. When COVID met me through Teca, I was working on penetrating the Martinican market. I was working on my fragrance line. I also teach as well too. So I was teaching fashion. It's something I'm very passionate about, making sure that we have a well-rounded fashion community coming up, after us. And in my soul, I feel somehow I was preparing for COVID-19 because I started shifting my brand for a while. My brand used to be a very loud brand. I've done Caribbean Fashion Week, Trinidad Fashion Week, Tobago Fashion Week, straight up the island chain, Mustique. I did New York, Miami Fashion Week, Bahamas. We did so many things. My brand was so loud and out there, but then I decided it was time to look at my business model. I wasn't pleased with the direction it was going in. It was very much just, sewing for people. It was straddling that line between craft and seamstress. And I'm like, this is not what I want. My creativity is not really getting used in the way that I would like. So I started looking at grants and I started looking at opportunities to really build capacity for myself to shift the business in a direction that could enable me to scale. It was taken way longer than I had hoped, but I've started to make some traction. And one of the things that I'm proud of is that I am actually a client of A Point, and we have definitely started to knock down some obstacles that have been there in terms of manufacturing. In terms of how COVID would have affected me, I have a boutique at our Kingston cruise ship terminal. So you would have known that the cruise season just ground to a screeching halt, just as we were about to make that final push to make that cash for the season. So you can imagine what that meant financially as cash flow comes to an end from that customer base. And I mean, you plan around these things, so that would have meant a significant loss in terms of that. Then, of course, events, dried up, so then customers are not buying locally. So that would have meant, even though you're kind of preparing for something that you didn't really know what's going to happen, that still things were done. And besides all of that going on, 2 family members in my household, one terminally ill, one elderly passed away. So people don't talk about the emotional effect of COVID, but at some point, you don't know whether it's the grief or the COVID or whatever, but you still have to find a way to pick up and generate income. And I had a friend who wished me well recently for a designer friend after COVID. I know she meant well, but I took that as we need to be making money now. We can't sit down and wait. So I've been involved in a collaborative mask project with a brand here. Crystal Oliver is the name of the designer, and Olive Art is the brand. And she primarily does handbags, but she's an emerging fashion brand as well. And I felt that this is the direction that COVID is taking us in. Collaboration, working with each other, finding solutions. And I felt I could have sat down and made masks myself. I can sew, I can do that. But my vision is bigger than just a me-centric vision. It's about the Caribbean, it's about the direction that we're going in. And I mean, this is not to knock anybody who's doing masks at all on their own, but it's just to say that the fashion industry, because we are a growing industry, we need to lead the way, because that's what we do. We are designers. We're supposed to be designing different ways. And if we don't lead the way, we're always going to be stuck doing the same thing, the same way, the same how. And I felt that that was a way of being significant and trying to say, you know what, this is a younger designer than myself, and let's work on that. So we've been gaining some traction with that, and that's really where the income is coming from. But also now I've started to look more into coaching and business development, and I've actually gotten 2 clients, which I'm very proud of in a short space of time, 2 paying clients. And I'm hoping to build on that using my experience. So for me, COVID it's a roller coaster of emotion, it's a roller coaster of situations. It's a horrible scenario for all of us to be stuck in, and my heart really goes out to everyone who's losing income. But at the same time, what I see is opportunity. And for me, I'm always looking for what I call my blue ocean strategy, and that is something that we learned under the Tika project. Blue ocean, you're looking for that space out in the wide ocean where you're doing something that nobody else is touching. You don't want to be in that red ocean where you are in a small pool doing what everybody else is doing in the same way, the same how, the same time. You have to look for the way of doing your thing in a more innovative way. So I'm always looking for the more innovative way of doing something. And for me, collaboration is one of those ways. So that is essentially where COVID has left me financially in a horrible position, but I'm not without hope, and I've never been a person who's been without hope. And I see a lot of innovation already happening that we need to look at in the Caribbean. And I guess we're going to talk more about solutions as we come up a little later. But I mean, that's just in a nutshell where I am. And moving forward, I can see myself doing a lot more coaching, a lot more services, working with other designers, partnering with other designers, and not just in terms of charity, but also in terms of sustainability, making sure that everybody could eat a food, as they say, that everybody gets a piece of the pie. And that's that is the general direction I think we all have to start looking at. And I really think COVID has taken us to a point where we have to look at the way we do business, intra-regional e-commerce. I remember Tariba was on a live on Instagram, and she hit the nail on the head where she was saying, you know, movement of goods in the Caribbean has to be solved. It has to be solved. When you count the numbers, we have an amazing client base, but moving goods from where we are or where our production is to the Caribbean client is too difficult. It remains too difficult, too expensive. You can't track it and not competitive against them going online and clicking on a brand that's an American or UK brand. That's who we're competing against, you know? So COVID it's a come back to center moment for me.
Good. Thank you very much, Kim here. So we get a sense from Kim here in terms of what the impact has been for her. But I know that she continues working hard and ensuring that she can build her brand. They're actually working on building a strong association in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as well. So we should make a plug for the Fashion Association at St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Similarly, we are doing the same thing in Dominica. So in spite of the impact of COVID, we're still seeing some interesting things happening among designers. Let me just call on our next panelist for this afternoon. Let me go to St. Lucia now. So can we get the lady from Membet? And she made us spoke about her a while ago, but to say that Tariba has been leading the way in terms of producing some really classy bags and purses in the Caribbean and also St. Lucia. And so we are pleased that she's been working with us as part of the family of fashion designers in the OECS. So good afternoon, Tariba.
Good afternoon, Phobos. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, everybody. So I am Tariba Dunay-Cimentu, and I am the creative director of Membet, and we're based in St. Lucia. At Membet, like Soba says, we actually do our own manufacturing. So I do have my atelier, and I do control my own production. This is something that I have struggled with throughout the years. It's been 11 years now that I've been running this company. And several times I have been advised to, move away from the manufacturing, have somebody else manufacture, and then I focus on the selling. And which is something that I refuse to do. I always felt like my value proposition is the whole handmade aspect of Membet. And I just felt like if I'm going to have a company in St. Lucia, I would like to hire a lot of people, and manufacturing allows that. And COVID happened, and so many times I say to myself, thank God I am still in control of that aspect, because it allowed me to pivot very quickly. You hear that word being thrown around a lot these days, being able to pivot, being able to switch your operations. Now, I do handbags, I do nice classy bags, but one thing that I have always done, I've always had a conference package. So we always did things like conference bags and branded paraphernalia, portfolios, etc. That has always been something we did. So in terms of me pivoting and moving towards making masks, it was a seamless transition. We already had our printers that we worked with. We already had all these relationships in place. And we, of course, we had our materials and everything. So it was just an easy thing for us to switch to. Now, of course, everybody's doing masks right now. Even I saw Vista Print selling masks, like everybody's doing masks. So what we were focusing on is, because we have the manpower and we have the technical capacity, we are focusing on mass production of masks, larger orders to business places, branded. And that has worked out very well for us so far. Of course, we do a few because people like Membet and people just want a Membet mask. So we make sure we stock a few in the store for people who come in who want to buy retail. But mostly we are focusing on wholesale. So we get orders by the hundreds, and we produce that. And that is what we have been focusing on. So what we have been doing is twofold. Personally, I have always loved to sew. And one advice that has always been given to me is to move away from the machine and focus on the business. COVID has forced me to do that, because I am literally thousands and thousands of miles away from St. Lucia right now, unable to be in my atelier sewing, and it has forced me to focus on the business. So this is essentially how I have been able to capture the business, because I am focusing all my attention on the business management, which is something that I did not do as well as I should prior to. So COVID is really exposing a lot of holes in how we do business and gives us the opportunity to do the things that we really should have been doing from a long time. What has happened now is that we have essentially split the business. So we have a manufacturing base in St. Lucia, and here in the US where I am, I took my entire store and I am running, and I do have a properly functioning e-commerce website. And here in the US, I'm doing all the fulfillment for the online store. And of course, I got a little machine and I'm also making masks. So I am also doing all our international orders of masks. And that has been working really well for us. And it has really allowed me to grow my customer base in record time, faster than I would have expected to. If COVID didn't happen, I don't think I would have had such a large customer base. And you have to be creative. So they buy the mask, you give a coupon, they get their mask, they come back and they buy a few bags. So we have been able to keep our head afloat. One thing that we did that was good foresight was that we shut down our operations before the country shut down. So that way we didn't have much wastage. We figured, okay, so this thing is coming. Things aren't looking too positive. Nobody's going to come and buy a bag right now, rather than, and my raw materials are pricey. So rather than cut materials and make inventory and stock that is going to sit there, we close up shop, packed up everything, we let things ride out. And as soon as we got the okay as an essential service to start operations to build PPE, we reopened. So I think that we are doing a pretty good job in keeping our head above water. My concern right now is losing our core business. It's easy to pivot. It's easy to make your money off of mask. But I feel like mask is really just a bandage of a flesh wound, because people are not going to buy masks forever. And if you have 6 masks, 5 masks, you probably don't need any more anyway, or your company is going to give you some free masks, so you're not going to buy. It's how to market in these times to make people feel like, okay, we know you don't have much money right now. We know you don't need a bag right now. Chances are you're not going anywhere you can find to your house, but how can we provide you a product that you can still utilize right now that you may still need? Now, prior to COVID, we were focusing on travel. So we did all these travel bags and travel sets, and obviously these things are not going to move. So now we are looking at the market, looking at where people are putting their energies, what people are interested in right now, what are the new trends, and to create bags that can match that. So we're seeing that athleisure is very big right now. Health and wellness and fitness, everybody's running, everybody's biking, everybody's exercising. There's not much more to do, and that's really how people are keeping, their mental health, So we are going to, as soon as we can, we are going to switch and move away from the travel and move more towards what we can offer to people who are exercising. So that's where we are with regards to COVID. I did see the end of Membet. If I have to be very frank, when we did close, I packed up everything. The space was empty. And I did see the end of Membet, and it was heartbreaking because just last year I was celebrating my 10 years of Membet. I did not see the other side of it. But closing early allowed me to stop, think, and regroup, re-strategize on how we can move forward. And I think we are better off for it. I was able to actually increase my staff. So that's not too bad, considering that employment is not the best, right? Employment opportunities are not the best right now. So someone who just finished school was able to get employment. We were able to make donations as well. We donated masks. We bought a couple of tablets for some families so that the kids can do their distance learning. So we have been able to at least function in a way that we feel good about what we're doing. Another thing that has always been my vision for Membet, and I'm finally seeing it happening, is that I really wanted e-commerce to be my bread and butter. I never really envisioned Membet to be a brick and mortar store where people come in and browse and shop. I did not really want the company to run that way. I just really wanted people to go online and shop. And I always struggled with the marketing of getting people on my website and getting people to purchase. Me being able to ship from the US obviously has encouraged people to shop because now they get their bags in 2-3 days. So moving forward, it is obviously something that I need to consider a more permanent fulfillment center, because I'm not certain that I will be here physically all the time to do that, because that has really helped us. I think me getting on e-commerce, I see that's the trend right now. Everybody's realizing, okay, the stores are closed. There are a few people who still want to shop. How do we get our products to them? I feel like we have been ahead of the game in that for quite some time. As much as I got a grant to do my website over last year, I have always had e-commerce as part of my business. And I'm just grateful that I was able to be ahead of the game in that respect, that I was never forced to stop selling. So even before we reopened to make masks, you could have still shopped because I could have still mailed it out to you. Mail services never stopped. So I think right now, a lot of people are realizing that, like Jamila said, that digital is the way to go. I think we as designers need to recognize that we are competing with the entire world. Okay, when we may look at each other, you know, look at what we are doing across the islands, but at the end of the day, I can buy a Membet bag or I can buy a Coach bag. I can click Amazon, click this, get it, and send it to me. This is still my competition. My competition is not necessarily Twig and Pearl from Belize or something like that. It's everybody. So I think a lot of people are realizing, okay, this website that I've been needing to do, I need to get on it right now. And I'm just very grateful that I was able to improve my website before COVID. So now it's really nice. But otherwise, I would have still been into that digital space, and I still would have had that offering because, like I said, I've had my website for quite some time. And I think this is something that, speaking to a lot of my colleagues, this is something that we struggle with. I know it is not easy, but we need to get into that digital space. We need to get things more accessible to people all over the place. And like Kimia reiterated what I said in a previous webinar, that movement of goods and services around the island, yes, is quite costly. It is a pain. It's unfortunate it has to be that way. But I think another thing that COVID is doing right now is that people are shifting their mindset, and us smaller businesses are really giving an opportunity, because a lot of people put notes when they shop online and they will say things like happy to support. A lot of people are shopping because they understand the need for small businesses to thrive. So you would still get regional people who may want to pay, you know, the 10 US that it would cost you to Riyadh quick pack your bag across to Barbados or to everywhere, which is how I ship my stuff regionally, Riyadh quick pack.
Let's wrap up.
Yeah, okay. You find a lot of people would be willing to do that. And even up here in the US, I can recognize the addresses. I see people ordering masks to be sent to Miami to the freight forwarding companies that send them back to the islands as well. So I think people are really understanding what it means to shop small and to support each other. So this is an opportunity for us right now during COVID, and it is something that we really need to understand, capture, and figure out how do we market to these people effectively, using that mindset that we are small and supporting us helps the economy, and then that will be an opportunity for us to really grow.
Thank you, Tariba. So I like that word, pivot. Yeah, so we can use it in the lexicon, the new lexicon for fashion and design in the OECS. And it's good to hear that in spite of the difficulty that you're able to maintain at least some of your employments and to keep the operation going. So we're very happy to hear that. Okay, so we want to move along quickly because we want to end that first round, because as I say, the first round is really to get a sense of what the impacts are. And then some of the issues that you're raising about digitalization, and so we'll deal with that in the second round when we come to wrap up and find solutions. So can we get from out of Martinique, Martinique, so Katie Cochebil. So Katie is one of the fashion entrepreneurs in Martinique that we have started a relationship with over the last couple of years. We're happy that we've maintained that connection. And so this afternoon, I'm pleased to have Katie as part of this panel. Good afternoon, Katie.
Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much to invite me in this webinar. It's really important for us to speak together and to give us to give us ideas to how we can move forward with this pandemic. So I will just introduce me quickly. So I'm Katie Cotrebil. So my company, EWA, is a concept store based in Martinique. I'm also a member in SRIPR based in Trinidad and Tobago. And just concerning EWA, we opened our store in January of this year. So this time is really challenging for us because when the lockdown arrives, we have only 1.5 months of opening. So this was for us the time to think about our business model, because we was in the launch campaign, and customers just begin to know the company, to know the brand, and we was just stopping with the lockdown. So what we decided to do is, okay, we cannot sell because our concept store is a brick and mortar, so it's physical. So we have to close the boutique, and we think, because we plan a lot of events in the year and you prepare a lot of things, but finally the pandemic said, no, you have to stop right now, and you have to think about what you can do, and you have to be innovative. So we said, okay, for us, it was a positive way to rethink our business model. And we decided to launch our website, because normally it was for September, but a lot of customers ask us what happened for EWA, what will be the future for EWA. So in this time, we said, okay, it's time for us to have a digital platform to sell our product, and also to stay in connection with our customer, because it's been 2 months from the beginning of the lockdown. So we used also Instagram to stay in connection with our clients. And we took this time also to make research, because, you know, as we had in the launching time, we don't have the time to stop and discuss and to see what happened in the fashion in the international fashion industry. So right now, in the time of the lockdown, there was a lot of webinar with international professionals in the fashion industry. So this let us have more ideas and to see what happened in the world, and how big companies what big companies think about what happened exactly, what happened in this moment. And it was really instructive for us. So that's why we evaluate our business, and we take time also to listen what our consumer needs. Because, you know, when you launch your company, you said, okay, I want that my client be like that. She will love that, etc., etc. But at the final, it's the clients who show what you sell. So finally, we take time to think about that and to hear what our consumer needs exactly for overall in this time. And consumer needs sustainable and quality, because you know a lot of people don't, the money was reduced. So now when you will buy a clothes, you will think before if you will wear it for a long time, or if it is only for 1 month after you get it in your bin. So for us, it was important to bring a sustainable and a quality product. So we decided to launch our own brand and to be independent on this time, because in EWA Concept Store, we have several designers from Caribbean and also from France, from Europe, and the collection we was waiting for was not possible to have them in this time because all shipments was stopped. So for us, it was important to be independent and to prepare the year, because for example, we have a lot of events we're preparing a lot of events, but right now events is not possible. So for us, it was important also to think about how we can propose our new product, how we can rethink our way to be closer to our consumer, because right now it's important to know what they want, because it's a challenge for every brand to know what your consumer wants exactly. Because it's your consumer who buy your product. So if you don't know exactly what he wants and what was the impact of this pandemic on him, it will be difficult to maintain your company. So for us, it was really important. Concerning the boutique, we opened it just yesterday. The lockdown was ended 1 week ago, but we have to take time to ensure our consumers that all the boutique is clean, and that we follow health safety. So it was really important for us to be sure that we ensure the protection of our employees and also our consumers. So we open only with appointment, but we have also the clients has also the possibility to buy online. So that's why I said that it was really important for us during the pandemic to stay in connection with our consumer. For us, it was a positive way to rethink our business and to stay positive and to open our eyes on what happened exactly in the world and what our consumer need exactly. So it's important for us overall in the Caribbean fashion industry to be really aware about these things. And yes, I think I said all things. Maybe I forgot some important things, but I think.
Okay, so we can wrap up. So you come back for the second round when we look at some of the issues. So
yes.
Thank you very much. So you were, like most of the other companies, obviously impacted by what is happening. And I think the key point that you raised is that we need to be listening to the consumers to know what they're looking for, and you know, really to stay on top of things, to know what is happening, to be in top shape. You know, so I think that is important. That's an important observation. So we just had it from Martinique. So can we get, before we continue, just to tell people that you can ask questions of the panelists. So we can take a few questions after Christine speak. So you can put your hands up, look for the raise your hands feature, and then we will allow you to ask questions. We will take a few questions before we go into the second round, where we're going to be looking in some more specific details about some of the issues that we want to address going forward. So let me bring on Christine Fraser from out of the British Virgin Islands. And Christine is one of our leading designers in the swimwear segment of the industry. And again, one of the designers who has been working with the CBU over the past many years. She's part of a core of designers, including Kimia, Tariba, and I see some others, Ajanti and Yakima, and from Dominica we have Belanoa, and a few others who have been keeping the fashion flame burning over the last several years in the OECS. So Christine, high energy, so bring some of your energy to us this afternoon. Christine.
Thank you, Sobers. Good afternoon to everyone, panelists, participants. Sobers, can you hear me? I want to just make sure. Can you hear me, Sobers?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly fine.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so
Just
much.
Speak a little louder. So.
All right,
yes.
I will definitely do my best. So good afternoon again to everyone. I am Kristen Fraser. I am the founder and orchestrating producer of Truffle here in the British Virgin Islands, mainly on the island of Tortola. And I have been a designer for over 11 years. I specifically focus on swimwear, resort wear, home goods, and accessories. And I started out as a swimwear designer. But knowing me, and for those that know me, I always have a plan, and I have been diversifying my brand from day one. So over the course of the years, throughout doing fashion shows, throughout, you know, trying to get my product into stores, working with influencers, working with buyers, there's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, but I don't think any of us could have really been prepared for COVID-19 and what that means. For me personally, COVID-19 has impacted me in a very interesting way, because I started out modeling my own swimwear and making patterns that would have between 5 to 10 to 25 pieces, and quickly realized that I needed to scale back as a designer and make myself more mass ready for the wider world, just simply because I am from a very small island where the wording on the map is bigger than the dot on the map. And so we have less than 35,000 people. And so what it did is it forced me to have to think way outside the box. It forced me to become international and to have an international brand. And that came with many credits. That came with a host of magazine features and interviews and so forth. But I'm glad that I diversified my brand over the years in a way that would help me to shape the way my brand is going and where I want it to go post COVID-19. So one of the things, or one of the main challenges for me once COVID-19 hit and once our BVI government shut its borders to the public, is the fact that I had just stepped out in doing my biggest trade show, which is called the Surf Expo in Orlando. And I worked really hard on that. I saved up, I spent money, and I spent close to $10,000 US. I'm a realist type of person. So I like to make sure that I tell the stories, because, you know, it needs to be told. And so others need to be encouraged. I spent close to $10,000 on this trade show in January of 2020, super excited. And once you do a trade show as a first-time exhibitor, most times or oftentimes you don't get any orders. And so I went in with the mindset that I would get orders, and I came out of the trade show with orders, which is great. And even on my last day, I got my biggest order from the Ritz-Carlton, which I'm sure everyone knows. The Ritz-Carlton is a wonderful resort with multiple chains throughout the Caribbean region and throughout the world. And so when I got that, that buyer response and that order, that really put a big smile on my face, and I was ready to go. I mean, I was really ready. And I started production on my collection because I do wholesale, I do retail, and I have a business that involves SEO and online presence, also through social media. And so I sell in bulk. And so I'm really excited, and I got back home, and the main challenge with that, once COVID hit and our government shut its borders and we no longer had the tourists and we no longer had that kind of infrastructure in place for people like me, all things kind of shut down, and I had to think really quick because I lost all the orders that came my way through this trade show. And so I really had to regroup, and coming from a mindset of having to think outside of the box, I had to now think even more outside of the box to make things work for me and my business as it relates to right now. And so one of the things that have been a good thing through COVID-19 is the support from the local community. The British Virgin Islands might be a very, very small place, but one of the things that we do strongly is we support. And so even post Hurricane Irma, if I may take it back, the support from the local community has been a good maybe 80–85% of my business for me to be sustainable and for me to carry on as a business. And so with this trade show setback, it really has caused me to think about different things in different ways. And at one point, I agree with Terry, but everybody's making masks. At one point, I even told Kimia, I don't want to make masks. I don't want to get distracted. I want to focus on the business end of things because the masks won't be forever. And I don't want to jump into the mask and get stuck on that train. And I am making masks. So I am on that train, but it's knowing when to jump off of that train because I utilize all of my original print designs that you can see here. And I use that to tell my story, and I use that in a way that evokes a mood, not just for the local community, but for the wider world. And I'm on that train. I'm on that mass train. So COVID-19, one of the most challenging things was losing all of my vendor orders from Surf Expo and investing so much in that, knowing what I wanted to do going forward for summer 2020. So as of right now, my current collection is still being made. I have product, and I will have more product. And it's challenging, but I think one of the good things is that once we get out of COVID-19, I will have product, and I will be ready, open, and willing to meet the demands of the customers. So that's just one thing. I know time is of the essence, but that's my take for right now.
Thank you very much, Christine. Boy, it's sad to know what happened to you right after spending all of this US dollars that you've been gathering in the BVIs, and you lost all of those orders. But, God willing, we should see some rebounding. And we're going to talk a little bit about rebounding later on. I didn't see anybody put up their hands to ask any questions or to make any comments at this stage. So do we have? Yes. Okay, so we have two persons. So we have, Darren, we're going to get Liza first. Liza Miller out of Trinidad and Tobago. So we're going to get Liza to come on. Darren.
Liza, go ahead. You have the floor.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Liza Miller from Estuary PR, marketing specialist for the creative industries. So I just wanted to ask the panel, how relevant do you feel brand positioning is, especially in the face of this pandemic, being able to pivot and generate business for your company? How relevant do you feel brand positioning is in market penetration strategies? And what brand positioning strategy do you feel will maximize your international trade success?
Can we get Tariba to answer? Tariba?
Hi, that's actually a very good question. I think brand positioning right now is everything, to be totally honest, because I had to laugh at Kristen when she's like, I don't want to make masks. Girl, I was there with you on that. I really hemmed and hawed, and it took me a while. But the thing is, when the whole concept of masks and the need for masks started coming out, when WHO first made their statement and everyone should wear their mask, people started messaging me immediately. Are you going to make masks? Are you going to make masks? Are you going to make masks? And that is because I have positioned my brand out there in St. Lucia as a brand that anything that you make, anything you want to sew, we are there. We are the ones that you come to. So I was a lot of people's very first thought when they were like, oh, I need a mask. And that was the encouragement that I needed to say, okay, you know what, Tariba? People need this. This is more than just you being stubborn and I make bags and I want to stick with that. This is about you also making things that people need. Okay, so, you know, I thought about it and I decided to go ahead. And what I did initially was do a buy one, give one. And I think all of that assisted. So just because you already created your brand position from before, you can continue to build on it now. So the buy one, give one that I did with my mask also positioned me in a way to show that, hey, I'm helping people, giving you what you need, and then donating it to the people who need it even more. So I think it's important, as Kimia had said as well, when she was kind of straddling between seamstress and making things for people, you need to position yourself, to elevate yourself so people can see, hey, you are a brand. I'm not just making bags. I run a company and I have a brand from St. Lucia, okay? And that is where you're gonna capture the market. And this is also helping me internationally with my online sales that I said that has spiked astronomically right now. Okay, people are recognizing, hey, this is not just me making masks right now. I'm an actual brand. So now that I have captured these new people, now I'm introducing them to the brand. I have all these stories about the brand that I can share with them, all this material I can share with them so that they can understand what I do, and then I can capture them. So when we get out of COVID, I will not just be, oh, there was this person that was making masks that I bought from. I would actually be, oh, there's this cute brand that I was introduced to when I was looking for some masks that makes some really lovely stuff. So brand positioning is everything now, before COVID, after COVID, and for the rest of our lives.
Thank you. Okay, so we have one more question and then we go straight into the second round because, so panelists, get prepared. We're going to be discussing some pointed recommendations in terms of how we can reset this industry going forward. Richard should be joining us. I think he's back on. So Richard, you're going to be taking over from me. So I will just ask Oleinka to come in. Darren, can you get Oleinka on?
She's having the same issues as the last meeting. She's going to have to rejoin. So when, oh, there she is. There we go. Go ahead, Ola.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ola.
Speak up, speak up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olainka Jacobs-Bonnick. I am the founder of the South-South Collective, which is an online collaboration business-to-business platform for creative and cultural industries across the Global South. And I'm also currently engaged in writing a report for UNESCO, a study on the status of the creative and cultural industries in the region during COVID. So my question is pretty simple, actually. We don't know how long all of the different business restrictions will last with regards to COVID. So we can't really say when it's going to end. But my question is, and I want to commend everyone for the work that they've done so far in keeping their businesses afloat. My question is, though, what have been some of your thoughts around your 2 to 5 year strategy? So you've spoken very much about the now and pivoting now and making it happen for you now. But how are you going to recapture your market long term? Medium to long term. Thank you.
Okay, so I would imagine, Olayinka, these are some of the things that we would want to discuss in this round. So guys, think about that in answering your question. Take that into consideration. So the kind of measures, the kind of strategies that we want to employ for the short to medium term in going forward. So we will answer that question in this round coming forward. We have one final question before we just go back and go into our second round of questioning. Hillary Gabriel from Grenada.
Hi, Esprit, thank you very much. And I must commend my other colleagues from the other islands. And what I want to say, and I think Esprit knows that I'm not fashion, but I do small designs with scented soaps and candles. And it was recently when the OECS had that session with Dr. Leslie. I've been doing tie-dye before, and they've just entered into a line of tie-dye. So I'm really happy to hear my sister is doing bags and purses. So we might be able to link, because I love networking, and share some ideas. And I think COVID-19 has taught us to network and piggyback on other colleagues' ideas. And you work together. What isn't working for me may work for somebody else, and what isn't working for them may work for me. So I'm really happy that I could have joined the webinar this afternoon. And Esprit, I'd like to thank you very much, because I've learned a lot. I've made my notes, and you'll be hearing from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gabriel. Okay, so we have one final question, and then we will go into the second round. Hopefully Richard can join us. Can we get Cook, Cambridge?
Hello, how are you? Hi guys.
Yes, speak up so we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, so I live in New York. I'm a Vincentian living in New York, so I'm pretty familiar with Kimia. I want to congratulate all of the speakers, because you guys are all amazing. I've come across your designs and your collections in one way or the other over the years. One of the things that a suggestion I can make to you guys is to think about masstige branding. Most of you do that anyway, but definitely going from a business perspective on going into a masstige branding, and the partnerships and the collaborations definitely is going to save your business. It is one of the things that I've said over the years here in New York, and in other American companies that I've worked for. I always talked about masstige branding and collaboration with other brands. And we see it through major brands have been doing it for the last 10 years. In the Caribbean, we see that a lot of small brands tend to think that they don't need anybody else. Kimia was one of the first people that I saw to collaborate with other brands and carry other brands in her boutique. And I kept saying to her, oh my God, this is such an amazing thing. So I just want to commend you guys on everything that you're doing. And hey, keep going, because you guys are amazing. You bring something completely different to the industry, and the world is watching you guys.
Thank you, Kirk, for that. So we'll definitely be in contact with you. We'll have your address so we can stay in contact with you. Okay, so we're gonna try to go through the next half an hour, trying to look at some clear pathways, some solutions in going forward. So Richard, are you on? Can you come in now?
I think so. Am I being heard?
Yes.
Wow. Hello, everybody. Everybody, I have been struggling.
It's your turn now. So we have, Richard, we have half an hour. We're gonna request the panelists to speak to some specific set of measures. And remember that Olayinka challenged us to speak about our 2 to 3 year strategy going forward. So I leave it up to you now to get us going, and then we can take questions at the end. Thank you.
Okay, I want to start, well, I'm jumping in actually, that we kind of will be speculating on the way forward because we don't necessarily have a formula because we have to look that we can follow from. We are creating a new thinking. So design thinking becomes important in how we fashion our future. The other day I was listening to something about how we keep the brick and mortar part of what we're doing and how are we to to embrace the online platform and the social media way forward in digitizing what we do. One of the things, for instance, with Uppoint, Jamelia and I are planning to do an event, and a virtual event. So it's a new way of looking at our space and how to operate in the space. I'm recommending that, and I want to hear how you perceive this new way of continuing business, because you still need to be Caribbean, you still need to be experiential in your branding about who you are. You still need to be distinctive and unique in your formulaic ways of presenting who you are and what you're selling. And you can't just bring it into just the field of the digital world. It still has to be accommodating both the worlds. How do you see us utilizing the space that we are presuming that we have to function in and a way forward? One of the things that I do is that I work in event management and in direction of how we chart our destinies as fashion and creatives. And so I have been thinking of, I have some things I wanted to share, but I want to see how you all are thinking about how are you going to move forward? How are you going to keep your customer? How are you going to get a new customer? How are you going to, as Liza mentioned just now, how is your brand going to be relevant? How are you going to go after excellence? How are you going to go after being innovative and competitive? And with the limitations of export in this time. So I throw all of that out to start hearing how we are going, how you're starting to shape this new direction of pushing your brands and your products and services. Anyone can jump in. Jamelia, I could throw it at you first.
Okay, thanks, Richard. I'm so happy that you're on, because it's important for us as Caribbean practitioners to be cognizant of the fact that we need to maintain our Caribbeanness. It's something unique and it's something that the world needs. What I would like to say is that any solution that is provided is not a solution that is meant to replace who we are or what our core is, right? The aim here is not necessarily to say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we're going to do the other. I'd like to commend everybody on pivoting, and that's really, really important. But I would like to challenge us all to be bulletproof, right? And that's what the aim is here. It's about thinking about how to operate in a way that makes you bulletproof. How do you make it easy for you to pivot? How do you operate within the digital and the physical space? Because none should replace the other. That's very, very important. How do you fork from one path to another, right? That is what we should be challenging ourselves to do. If this, then that. If not, then this. And in doing so, also being flexible in our approach, being quick to read the trend and being in tune with the zeitgeist. That's very, very important. That is what makes you bulletproof. Think about if you have impact and you're rigid, the difference between having impact and being flexible, right? You're able to shoulder the impact. So it's important to be bulletproof to ensure that all of your processes can be transferred and not ignoring necessarily the international market or ignoring the local market, finding a way to balance the both. It may be difficult, but that's necessary. As it relates to positioning, I think it's important to look at what your current consumers' evolving needs are in this time. So you're looking at, what they need right now, right? Not just, yes, the physical product, but what kind of process do they need for ordering? What kind of process do they need for payments, right? That's one thing. Then there's another phenomenon that we need to be cognizant of is who's moving towards us, right? So as Tariba said, there may be people who are introduced to her brand because of the masks, and you want to capture those people. So you want to look at who you're moving to or who you're moving with, the current customers, but also be cognizant of the wider market and figure out how people are moving into your segmentation or your group, right? And ensure that your brand is always relevant and accessible, because everything that you do in marketing is about getting the product to a consumer. Everything you do in your business is about getting the product to a consumer, getting their feedback, getting your raw materials, and managing that process. So process is what makes you bulletproof. Flexibility is what makes you bulletproof, right? And those are the things that we need to be cognizant of. Be careful as well as it relates to trends that are emerging. Please don't hold on to any trend. Examine the trend, test the trends, and see if they are trends that are transferable or easily implemented as the market becomes saturated or as things evolve.
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment, Kristen?
Yes, I would definitely like to comment. I think that for someone like myself and my business, I think that because I have created so many different avenues within or under the Truffle label, so whether it's the Truffle 284, which is the kids, the Truffle Home, which is home goods and home furnishings, Truffle Active, which will come out really soon, because as Tariba said, everybody's jogging, everybody wants to be healthy and all of that. And the Truffle brand in general for men and women, I think that it has become a little bit easier for me to be able to transition and pivot, quote unquote, into one of these other areas if swimwear isn't doing as well right now because, of COVID. Then I have other avenues that I can look into. And not just that, one of the main things I think that has helped and that hopefully will help others on this discussion is to really encourage and really show more opportunity and have more of an open eye to what's happening in the fashion industry, not just in the Caribbean, but on a global scale. So many major companies are filing for bankruptcy. So many major companies are going out of business, major department stores. A lot is happening, a lot is going on. And whether we want to believe it or not, it trickles down into our small businesses. A good friend of mine said one time, if the price of rice goes up in China, it affects all of us worldwide. And so once you have that business mindset in realizing what's going on within the fashion industry specifically and the arts on a whole, you'll be able to understand better how you can pivot, not just because of where you're living, but globally, how this would work with you. And so for me, I have some little samples. For me, working with companies like Otterbox, this is a pivot, but this is something that I did back in 2017, working with other US companies like C-Star. Again, collaboration, their brand, my brand, working together and creating alternate revenue streams for you and your business to be able to not just survive, but thrive, because it's not just only about money. The networking grows. Any opportunities that come from any interviews or celebrity placements or anything like that would come from working with major industry retail chains or retail partners, that comes with that comes to you. And so that helps build your brand automatically. And so, you just want to make sure that you're ready, as I'm trying to make sure that I'm ready for that next big hit or that next big wave or that next opportunity. Because once you get that one opportunity, if you're not ready, then you kind of got to start again. And so, for me, I would say I work with my brand and I work with a lot of other people in terms of collaboration because I believe in collaboration over competition. I truly do. Kimia can tell you, and a few other designers can say, well, I believe in collaboration over competition. And with my brand, we actually work up to 6 months out. So as it relates to the bigger picture, venture, we're kind of secure in that area that we can jump to. So right now I'm jumping into home because that's working more for me, because a lot more people are interested in sprucing up their home, or they want consultancy services that I can provide from the Truffle Home kind of brand, not necessarily the swim, but the home. And so I can pivot and adjust as I need to. And so those are just some of the things that you could think about, thinking globally, and even thinking regionally, or more collaborations, again, showing more support and love to each other, and just really having an overall plan. So if you never thought about working on your business plan or your product from 6 months out, start working on that, because you never know when another COVID might hit or something else that might hit. And you just got to be really, really prepared. I can say on this platform really quickly before I end, I have plans in the near future to try to at least start manufacturing, because one of the things that is challenging is for designers to really get good quality manufacturing at low minimums, because not everybody goes to China, not everybody wants to go to China, and that's definitely understandable, and create another avenue so that the BVI could be an export island, because we don't export anything much currently because we're so small, but that is a goal. And so I just wanted to be able to say that on this platform here. So being ready and having a good plan really would help the business. And so this is what I'm doing.
Great, 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 Kristen. I think what Kristen has really said there is what we have been hearing, toying all the time about economic diversification, you know, and there was something I met the other day called mortality salience, which is about thriving instead of striving, you know, and that's what she said there. And I think that is what you really look as for sustainability, keeping the excellence, but finding new ways. And one of the other things that she brought up there is the partnership and co-branding and collaborating is very, very important. I remember working with Esther Joseph in St. Lucia, and she had a cowbone jewelry being done by Haitians who were adding to the product that she gave. So it was a true Caribbean brand, but collaborating a Francophone Caribbean and the English-speaking Caribbean in a true sense to make a relevant contribution to the world. You know, so I love what Kristen said there. So we look at economic diversification, which is really what sustainability is about, and that salience to thrive instead of thrive. Anybody else wants to contribute here? Kimia? Yeah? Yes, Kimia?
I say, like, for me, for example, my concept is I am not finishing COVID worse off than when I started. It's an absolute commitment to research, to read, to know what's going on in the industry, to look at the news, to make sure that you're on point and you understand, especially where your customer is coming from. I saw something today that made me absolutely scream, because I said, you know what? This is so spot on. One of our Vincentian designers, Karen DeFreitas, so carnival. I scrolling through Instagram today and I saw she had the grocery run collection. The grocery run collection. Let that sink in. And I'm like, she's right there. She's looking at what customers need beyond the mask. You know, I like what Kristen was talking about in terms of the home collection, because people, you're in your home now, you're meeting, you want to also be comfortable. Tereba's talking about fitness. It's really about understanding what your customers' pain points are right now. And that's one of the great things about working with an organization like UpPoint, for example. I'm giving Jamelia a little plug here. But it's like, when we sit down and we strategize, we're already looking at, because I'm working on a new collection right now, you know, I'm working on collaborations right now, thanks to the Tika project. I'm collaborating with 2 Martinican designers. I'm working on a new collection. But when I sit down and we strategize, we're looking at a way of how can we roll out this new collection in a way where I'm not taking all cash reserves and throwing it into a deep hole. It's a very strategic approach that we're trying to come at it, where you're looking, you're not doing a collection the way you did the collection in the past, where you're like, it costs X amount. We can't risk that right now. You know, whatever you have to invest, you have to know strategically how you're going to invest it. And also, in terms of my research, I'm looking at sales strategies for e-commerce, marketing for e-commerce, like deep diving into it in a way that we would have done just for brick and mortar in the past. And I looked at a trend forecasting report specifically for COVID. And one of the things they looked at was a new page on Instagram, working from home fits, working from home outfits, where people from Instagram, they're sending in their working from home outfits. I mean, look, we're seeing Twitter, Jack Dorsey has now said to all his staff, you can work from home now forever. But people still want to be fashionable. People want to be fashionable when they run to the grocery store. And I mean, just in terms of like innovative ideas that we can collaborate on in terms of like online pop-up shops and things like that, we really have to be looking at very strategic ways of how we're going to get our product into the hands of the consumer now. And I mean, it's so good to be in this group of people. We're out there and we're fighting the fight, but we have to innovate or we're going to get lost. Tariba said, we're competing against the world. We are. So we just have to really put our head in the right space and understand that this is the time to see what your customers' pain points are, where you want to position your brand. And I believe, Kristen, you were saying multiple streams of income. That's one of the things in one of the millions. We are in a webinar hell right now. There's a webinar every day. Sometimes you have 3 times a day. But I'm telling you, I am learning and I'm taking all of that. I'm internalizing it. And one of them was talking about you have to look at your roots, your core, your brand, what your brand stands for. And then you have to spread from that. You have to look at multiple sources of income. And it's not just product, it's also services. How can you service your client base in a different way? You have to really sit down and do a deep mental dive. And just mental dive, sorry. And I just have to say, I mean, May is the month for mental health. Creatives, we are sensitive people to the core. We really have to guard our mental health. We really have to nourish ourselves. So sometimes we only look at the dollars and the cents, but if you're not functioning, if you're not designing, if you're not being creative, what are we doing? You know, so we have to guard that. So that's just my contribution. Thanks.
Okay, I want to move to Tariba, but I want to go over what you said, the strategic forecasting. I like that whole idea of that. Being aware of what the customer needs in the changing time, and constantly brand positioning. And I want to inject, should we be aware too of the youth empowerment aspect? Because the youth have some ways of determining and defining our world that we need to take examples from in the way we're moving forward, and not necessarily always going with the traditional ways. Some non-traditional ways need to be included and incorporated in our movement forward, particularly after a thing like this. So Tariba, could you enlighten us a little bit? Share some of what you're thinking with respect to some of the things that we're sharing.
Okay, Kristen, I just wanted to say, when you spoke about the manufacturing, I clapped for you, but then I just realized you probably didn't see because I don't know where you are on your screen. I am such a big proponent of keeping these things amongst us. You have no idea. And I would applaud you. I would be, when you have your flagship opening, I want to be there. I want to be there screaming for you. I think this is so important. When that supply chain cut us off and that supply chain shut down, right? When that happened, it was so difficult for people to get even the smallest things that we take for granted, that we don't realize. So many things we import that we can actually make. And this is a discussion that even transcends fashion. Just on a whole, we just import too much stuff into the islands. And we need to build up our capacity to produce for ourselves. That will generate employment, okay? That will just do wonders for us. That will diversify our economy as well. And I've just recently joined the Manufacturers Association in St. Lucia, so this is just like my big thing right now. I think as well, Kristen knows this, I was supposed to be at Surf Expo in January as well. We had spoken about that from before. I had a family issue and I was unable to attend at the last minute. And boy, Kristen, my heart aches for you, because for just before COVID, I myself had a big meeting with Sandals. They flew in their head buyer and they met with me, and I was supposed to provide items for all Sandals gift stores, and that was like my big thing. The difference is that for me as a manufacturer, I have a little more control. Okay, so I have a very lean operation because I am in control of my manufacturing. So I'm not 6 months out like Kristen, because I can control when to produce, what to produce, and I can make very quick changes if I see like certain styles are not moving the way I want it and certain color schemes are not moving the way I want it to move. Okay, but that is just my business model. I do not think that my model sells in the mass quantities that Kristen wants her model to sell, so that obviously will not work for her. But that works for me, and that keeps me a little guarded, that keeps my cash a little closer, and that is what will allow me, and let me say this to answer Olayinka's question from before. I think I'm saying her name correctly. That is what is allowing me, like I said in my initial presentation, to move towards what people need more. So you ask about the 2 to 5 year plan, and I spoke about looking at the trends right now. And since I really make accessories, it's just about accessorizing what clothes are actually selling the most of. And right now, it's athleisure wear, it's joggers, it's that sort of thing. So instead of me making clutches, which is something I made a lot of, which was really my bread and butter, because people just bought clutches. Like, you don't even need to have the outfit. You just like the clutch, you buy the outfit, it'll come afterwards. And nobody come and buy clutches now because nobody have nowhere going, right? But like Kimya said, your grocery store fit, your jogging fit, you're gonna walk my dog fit. All of these little things are things that I can just jump on. I have the capacity. Like I said, I have the machinery, and I can use the exact same raw materials to just move, switch, okay? So the same materials I would have used to make a clutch, just switch that and make a different style. Like, you know, or even just tweak the clutch to make it into something that's a little more sporty. So I think me just being able to have that control is allowing me to you know, diversify my product range. Another thing that, and I've spoken to Kimmy about this from before, I'm also going to expand my product offering into things as much as, and this is me moving away from the manufacturing as well, just to have things that I can sell that we did not actually just make, like just little small things, like little, I'm going into cufflinks, like just little branded things that can be there. So if I feel like, you know, let us slow down the production a little bit, I still have enough stuff on my website that can sell. Because I think right now what's important for me in my strategy is to hoard my cash. Okay, I need to make sure that I can pay my staff. I have a very good landlord, at least I have that bit of wiggle room, but my staff salaries are very important to me. So it's important that whatever business decisions I make, it's not going to put me out in terms of how much cash I have to put down payment for XYZ, or I have to replenish raw materials because we made a whole heap of this stuff that's not selling. You know, these are the type of strategies that I want to maintain. So that is essentially going to be my, I wouldn't say 2 to 5 year plan. I think it would be a bit presumptuous of me to create a 5 year plan, because we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't even know what's going to spike. I mean, they call it unprecedented. All the words we're so sick of hearing. This is how we're living right now. So I think 6 months is a little more realistic for me. And because of my lean operations, I can work within 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, switch and jump into something different just by, because I don't have to wait on placing an order overseas. I don't have to wait on somebody making it for me. I can just jump on the bandwagon and do that. And further to the question about the brand positioning, I just wanted to say one thing that we have positioned ourselves in at Membet is quality. And I think that is something that also helped us to gain a lot of interest for our mask, because people understand that, hey, we're not going to just be making masks for making masks sake because everyone's making masks. We're going to make a good quality mask. We've researched and we have a very good filter in our mask and all these little things. So the people who know that, oh, make these masks for me, I don't want a filter, make it the cheapest, they will not come to me. Okay? We can leave that business to somebody else. The people who will be like, okay, my staff, our biggest client was actually Buckeye. Buckeye, where the way they work, they need proper masks. They cannot skimp on the mask. This is the oil company. They can't skimp on masks and they cannot skimp on quality. So they came to us and we were able to produce the mask how we want to produce it, good quality, good filters, proper 100% cotton, and we can charge accordingly, and they would pay it, right? So I think that's another thing that has assisted us in terms of the way we position our brand, that, hey, even if we're going to jump into this thing, you know, we are going to do it properly, and that has helped.
Great. I want to bring Ketty in here. Ketty has a wide range of experience, because when I read up on Ketty. She worked with scarves, she worked with shoes, she's worked in marketing, she has worked in sales, she has worked in positioning and branding.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm wondering, we shouldn't only speak in terms of fashion, but it's in creative industry development and sustainability going forward. And therefore, how do you see, what is your advice, having had this wealth of knowledge and it's international knowledge, and how should we use some of this to change our direction? I believe too in the interconnectivity of the creative industry and not necessarily staying as fashion practitioners alone. So share some of your experience there for us to understand a way.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. That's a very good question because, you know, it's 7 years ago I'm in Martinique. Before I was in Europe, I worked in Italy, in France, and I travel a lot around the European country. And when I got back in Martinique, I saw what happened in Caribbean area, but it was not enough because it seems that from the external of the Caribbean area, people don't see what's happened exactly here. So that's really a pity because we have a lot of talented designers and also artists. But what we need is a platform who show all the professionals we have in fashion industry and also in music and art industry. So my experience in the past was because I worked with emergent brands with shoes, and what was really an effective experience was the co-branding. When we made co-branding with other brands, with famous brands, it was really a jump for the emergent designer because, you know, people turn their vision on a new brand. And you know what, this brand in question was in the industry from 10 years. And when we make the co-branding, now we have a lot of peers, a lot of people who come to the brand and discover it and discover that there is a lot of new things over international big brands. So I think that in Caribbean, we have to have a digital platform who show our different professionals. And I think also because like retailer, when I want to have a Caribbean brand, what is a problem for me is, for example, I saw something beautiful things, but sometimes it's from 2 years ago, and I said, okay, that's really beautiful, but our designers have to have 2 collection or 3 collection per year. 1 collection per year is not enough. Because when you are a retailer, when you present 1 collection from the designer, you know, people come to see who is this designer, and you see in the Instagram or Facebook what the designer made. And if next year or next season I present again the same style, I know that people will say, oh, but it's the same collection. You spoke about new collection, it's not new collection. So we have to be aware of what's happened outside, what's happened in the world, to be innovative, to keep our identity. It's really important because we have a beautiful identity in Caribbean area, but I think we have to be aware and to be really careful of what's happened in the big company, because right now I know that it's the time for emergent brands. Because right now in the international fashion industry, big brands are we come at the initial of the launching of the brand, because they said, okay, having six collection per year is too much. Okay, is too much, and it's not sustainable, because when you make 6 or 8 collection, you know, the fabric you use, you will not use it the next season. So right now, big brands said, okay, we have to have less collection. So for emergent brand is good, because now designer in Caribbean can follow this wagon and show what they made, and to show that they are sustainable, because it's that, and that they have good quality, because it's the fact also, we have good quality here, but we need to show by a digital way, because we are a dot in this world. So we have to be together, because one country, one Barbad, one from Trinidad, it's not enough. We have to go together and show the world what we are doing, what is our identity, what is what's happened in Caribbean area, because a lot of people come in Caribbean area to have inspiration. You know that, and after they go away, they go over out in their country, and they repeat our identity, and that's it. And here we know that it's our identity, but what we do for that, we have to show what happened, and we have to make it all together. It's the better way to comfort our businesses, and also to show the world that there's something happening in Caribbean area.
Wonderful. If you don't know, I am a particularly strong on the Caribbean aesthetic, and so people know me as the person who is constantly talking about with an international appeal, but it's definitely with an identity that comes from this part of the world. Part of the identity branding is the commingling of all of the creatives. So music, in the dance, in the fashioning, in the makeup, in the coloration, in the graphic arts, in the visual arts, they all belong together to make that identity strong. And understand it. Don't allow them to come and be inspired by what we do. And basically what they do is plagiarize our thinking. We need to be the leaders of go to the world. I always use a reference that people always said Caribbean fashion was a Bermuda short, a Hawaiian shirt, and a hat. That is totally irrelevant to who we are. Be the way forward. But what is also important is that post-crisis and post-pandemic situations, it is the creatives, the burgeoning of creative talent and the innovators that create a new thinking, a refreshing movement forward, you know? Exactly. So just in the fashioning, in all of the creative design thinking that we need to go forward. Comment.
Yeah, Richard, we have 3 questions. We take them because we want to wrap up soon.
Yes.
6:41, we passed our time. So we have, I see we have David Andre.
Hi, David. Yes, from Haiti. Hi, David.
Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
hi. You hear me?
Yes, we are.
Yes, how you doing, everybody?
We're good.
Yes.
Yes, we are
Yeah. So, you were like some of the designers were talking about trend, and we're talking about like some of them don't want to make masks, and some of them does. Like, especially me, I don't really have any choice because I really want to keep my employees coming to work because I have an atelier. I'm almost like the lady from Membet, Tarifa. So I have my own production, and I want to pay attention to what the employees are making. So I just want to keep it high, and I had to shut down once they start the lockdown in Haiti. And a week after, I start to be depressed because I've been in that business for 22 years, and I went to school to study fashion. Especially, I went to Paris. And when I got back to Haiti, I built my own atelier, and I wanted to have what they call the made in Haiti products. So it's at the same time, it's hard what's happening in the world, and especially for us as Caribbean designers, because we don't have like enough funding to keep it up as the big companies. But the big companies, they're trying to adjust themselves to what's going on. So I think us, we need to do the same because we are on the same boat. Like, even though we are not like big names, but we are still designers too. And from like I was checking my school in Paris, and we were talking with some teachers and some trendsetters, people working with the what they call in French bureau de style, and they were talking about new trend coming like for the next 2 years, and they suggest me to go, why don't you do loungewear, why don't you do like people like have that tendency to go jogging, to go to the gym, like even though the gym are closed, but people, they go running in the morning, they go walking the dogs. So go into the leisure clothing, go to into like stuff people can wear to stay at home, easily, because that pandemic gonna last like for the next 2 years, and we have to adjust themselves if we want to make money. Otherwise, like, we have to shut down, and I don't want nobody to shut down. So in every situation, there's a risk to take, and at the same time, there are so much opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, David. Here's what we're gonna do, folks. We've passed the allotted time, so we're gonna take the questions, and then we're gonna ask the panelists to wrap up, to answer, and then wrap up. We have a question on the chat that asking about collaboration. The question is whether or not people have been collaborating, if you've done Instagram collaboration. So just bear that in mind, and you tell us about it. We have 2 questions. Let me ask the people asking questions to be brief, because people have other things to do. It's a busy time. So let's be brief and to the point. We have Vanessa Winston from Dominica. So Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, good evening. Hi, Mr. Richards. How are you?
Hi. Nice.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Just to be quick, because our time is limited, there was a lot of focus on what our customers want, but also we have to really think of how we're going to maintain our supply chain, because what I've noticed on my side is that there is a different consciousness in the level of your supplies and where you ordering from, and the level of consciousness in our environment and the sustainability of our supply chain seems to be getting very important in the minds of our customers as well, not just what they want to wear, but also there is a new consciousness of where you order in your material, what type of material, and if it's eco-friendly and all these things. So that is one of the things that I think we need to start thinking of going forward. also with there's the question of collaboration. How do we really collaborate to apart from having the webinars and speaking, how do we actually collaborate through the islands to ensure that we can sustain each other? Because there's a lot of talk of collaboration, but the actual going forward, how do we see it being feasible for our designers going forward? And one more thing is, yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now. I think the other one's going to be a bit long, so, but thank you for having me and thank you for sharing going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. And that's to say that Vanessa has been one of the stalwarts involved in the movement. And so we're really pleased to have you. I see we had Jessie Ann, Jessie May from Grenada as well. Jessie Ann, that says good afternoon to you as well. We have another question coming from June Pierre.
She's in Toronto. She's in Toronto. Yeah, June.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
June.
everyone. I totally enjoyed the entire afternoon. My quick question is, as a producer and event planner in Toronto, is it easier for you all as designers to get your products to the States versus Canada, particularly Toronto?
No, she's asked a direct question there.
Yes, I can answer that, I think. And if anyone, the other designers want to chime in.
So Liza has a question. So because we'll just wrap up with everybody and Richard will close up.
Okay.
Liza.
Hi. Hi again. So I just wanted to touch quickly on the point of the collaboration, really in the whole digital space, the importance of co-opetition, which is really being able to collaborate and partner with companies or brands that you would traditionally have considered to be your competitor, but looking for relationships that would help to build value for both entities. And I think really this is a strategy that we really have to use to push ourselves forward, because there's strength in unity. And even from the standpoint of, there's a lot of talk about brands, but I think one of the important things is being able to create the right team around you, because within the fashion business, there's no brand that exists as just a designer on their own. So, we really have to look at, in our space where we have limited resources, we have to be able to look at forming relationships, looking at alternative ways to form these relationships, whether it is through bartership, whether it is through commission-based arrangements, whether it is through partnerships. So that's pretty much just my comment. I don't know if any of the panel has any comments to make on that and how they've been able to develop their brands and achieve the success that they've been able to achieve from the whole standpoint of limited resources and being able to execute.
I'd like to say something in regards to all what three of them said, like Vanessa Winston, the wonderful collaboration with Mailing that was experienced at the Commonwealth Fashion Exchange was a beautiful collaboration of a Dominican artisan and a Trinidadian designer. That is a form of collaboration. Joan Pear is an event maker in Toronto. I've worked with her several times, and she has brought designers together and brought buyers into the space so that they can see these unique products coming from the Caribbean and trying to channel it so that they can have new income generating spaces and ways of selling and vending their items. Those are collaborations in real terms, because there's a certain degree of pragmatism that has to work in the collaboration. It can't just be collaboration because you just want to join forces for the names of the brands to work with one another. And there's something that Ketty talked about, the insularity of some brands that by themselves or by their nationality want to advance the Caribbean aesthetic. It's somewhat not as solid as it could be, and therefore collaborating like what we are doing here just by the dialoguing is what needs to happen. The products and services need to be integrated to make a brand that is called the Caribbean brand for the world to see and appreciate and therefore buy into. Anybody can throw a comment in. I think Kristen was going to say something.
Yes, I was just going to quickly say, because I think it was two questions, to Joan. For me, it's easy to ship anywhere in the world, just because I prefer to use the DHL or FedEx method, and two, because I am on a very, very small island. So again, limited resources and options. So I pretty much ship worldwide anyway when I get orders on my website. So I can ship to Canada, I can ship to the US. It is easier to ship to the US for me just because of the USPS relationship and in close proximity with the US Virgin Islands. So it is easier, but it does not restrict or limit me to be able to ship to Canada. So Joan, I'm ready for you if you're ready for me. And then as it relates to collaboration, this is something I've been doing for years. I think it's fitting to say here that I spoke to Kimya because I understand her position. And, you know, oftentimes as a designer, you want to say, okay, I am a designer. This is what I do. These are all my designs. And in sitting in COVID-19, I took a step back and I said, yes, I am a designer, but there are other designers that are just as good, that are even better. Why can I not collaborate with them and work with them in some way? And so specific prime example would be me reaching out to Kimya to say, hey, you design, I design, I am at a certain level. This is what it is I do. You know what I do. How would you feel about working together? As in, I literally pay you for designs while I come up with these concepts for the collections. You can help me design, we can design together. We have the collection, you know, you get the credit, you know, the whole nine. And so that helps her brand, it helps my brand. We go together, everybody wins. And so if for me, if you have the right energy, if I do my research and I find that this brand would work well and would fit and mesh well with mine, and we could thrive together and our stories could intertwine nicely, then it should be done. And this is something that should have been done for years and years. So I definitely am all for collaboration anywhere around the world, not just in the Caribbean region, but if you want your Caribbean brand to grow more internationally, you would want to work with international companies as well. So it's just all about finding that balance, having that great, awesome energy and finding the right people to work with. And like Liza said, having a great team. So that's it.
Great. So I like the synergy that Kristen is promoting, and the carrying of the brand internationally is like Stella Jean from Haiti, and she's Italian-based designer. Love her to death, doesn't she? And she carries the energy, the vibrancy, the color, the potency of what is Caribbean, working with silhouettes and international branding to position her roots, you know, and I really think that that is what is wonderful here, chatting here with all of you all. Tariba, because I've worked with Tariba in St. Lucia as well, in how we showcase her stuff, because there's a methodology in how we showcase the stuff that is part of the partnership of the branding of who we are and the positioning of who we are. I've worked with as well Kimya and Kristen as well in Fashion Week Trinidad and Tobago Fashion Week, and Jamilia, she is there with me, and we are working on this virtual effect, virtual production. So Katie, I'm going to be aligning with you, and we are going to bring the French influence to the English speaking and the English speaking to the French influence. And I think it was wonderful, even though I came in late. And it's because of the same fact that technology is important in our way forward, because that was what my challenge was. But we must not forget the people centricity of how we connect with our consumer and our customer.
So here's what we can do, folks. So let us do a quick round. Everybody just give a minute to just wrap up.
Yeah.
Kim here.
Well, just right there.
Yes.
Just to come off what we were just talking about in terms of collaboration, I just want to say that, first of all, Caribbean people find it very hard to collaborate for a very specific reason. It's not necessarily cultural, it's not necessarily historical for us. So in some cases, you can have an organic collaboration with somebody you like their style, you all hit off naturally, and it's beautiful. But many times the collaboration has to be more orchestrated, it has to be put together. For example, we are trying to create trade relations with Martinique with the Tika project, and so I'm working with 2 Martinican designers who are in the program. It's part of what we signed up for, and so it's an orchestrated collaboration, but it's one that I think could really, when we started, we didn't know it would have the legs that it has. So now we're getting somewhere with that. And I just wanted to say in terms of like going forward, we really need the support. We really need the financial support. I would say to designers, besides everything that you have to do, I mean, we are busier now probably than we were before COVID because we have to multitask. Any grant that is not nailed down, you need to try and access it. Any financing that's not nailed down, you have to try and access it. Work on your business plan. I know I'm working on mine for sure. Keep like creating as much as you can and educating yourself on all of that. But we also have to get the nuts and bolts, the supply chain, the shipping has to be solved. Even simple things like getting paid. And to answer the question about shipping, I use Leah Quickpack a lot in the region, and I find a way of spreading the cost through the product by manufacturing carefully and controlling that price, so that by the time you have to put that cost onto it, it doesn't become like an even bigger liability. But it is easier really for us to ship outside because it is part of the culture of North America to pay shipping and handling. We have not gotten to that point yet. And we just really have to get the support of organizations like the OECS Competitive Business Unit in terms of really pushing to get the finances there. Otherwise, people's businesses will fail, because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. We don't know about second wave and all of that. So let's hope that off of this conversation, it will lead to further conversations to try and get some solutions. I know Sobers is always there championing our cause, and if I don't say it enough, I will say it again. So grateful, Sobers, that we get so much respect from OECS Competitive Business Unit, and a lot of the other designers don't really understand because they're not involved in the space as they could be, or they're tired of hearing the same talk shop, but they don't understand the kind of support we get from OECS Competitive Business Unit. And I just have to say thank you for that, and let's continue to fight this fight.
Thank you, Kimia. Thank you. Tariba, your 1 minute.
I'll try my best.
And you do 1 minute? 1 minute.
I'll try my best. I wanted to answer a couple of the questions though. With regards to the shipping to Canada, I find the tariffs are exorbitant when I do my wholesale orders to Canada. My first time, I did not have a very good experience with the buyer. And also I was surprised, even if I got assistance from my export agency in terms of preparing the costing for the tariffs, when it actually got there, I ended up having to pay quite a bit in the duty. And I was very surprised with that. Whereas in the US, they don't seem to care. I've never had to have any duty charges on anything that I've ever shipped to the US in any quantity whatsoever. Also with regards to how long it takes, I don't use FedEx and DHL, even with the corporate discount, is not very affordable for me in St. Lucia. So I do use our regular post office, which works perfectly fine to the US. You get your stuff in like 6 working days, which I think is pretty decent. However, Canada takes forever. And I'm also having that exact same experience shipping from the US to Canada right now, where my shipments to the UK get to the UK, get to the client faster than anything that I sent to Toronto or anywhere in Canada. I don't know what's up with the borders and how we're getting stuck right now. So that's to answer that question. Somebody had a question, I read it, about if we've ever used influencers. I have. It has not worked for me, but it can work for somebody else. I know Kristen has used it, and I'm sure she's had better luck than me. I've used different influencers who's had 100,000 followers and who've had 2,000 followers, and it has not quite worked for me. But that's mostly because I don't think my demographic particularly cares about influencers. I know personally, especially right now in COVID, I've been unfollowing quite a few of them because they're really annoying me. But everybody's different. So it is worth a try. I would never discourage anybody from doing it. And also with regard to the collaboration, one collaboration that I do all the time is with local artists. I am moving towards doing my own prints as well. So I collaborate with local artists to design the artwork for me to put on my prints. And that is fantastic. You find people who, they don't even like the bag, but because it's that artist or because it's an original print work from the artist, they would buy it regardless. So that is one collaboration that I do very often. And it's something that I would like to do moving forward with artists from anywhere. That it doesn't matter to me necessarily that they have to be St. Lucian artists. And lastly, I just want to say thank you. This has been awesome, Sobers, as usual. And you know, based on how Kimia was praising you, now I think everyone can understand why within a minute we agreed to be part of this webinar, because it's you, Sobers, and we know once you ask, we'll always say yes. And once you offer, we always accept, because Sobers always delivers. The OECS Competitive Business Unit has to be one of the better agencies to work with, one that you know will always produce results. And most importantly, they are the agency that listens to us. They don't just create programs and say, look, they come to us and say, what do you need? And then they create programs based on what we need. So it's actually interventions that will have measurable and proper results. So we appreciate you, your team, and all that you do. And Richard, we have not worked together in a while. What's going on, man?
He's part of the family now. He's part of the family now.
All right. Yeah, but this has been awesome. And I'm so happy to see so many familiar people. And this David person from Haiti, can you reach out to me when this is done? info@membet.com is my email address, or you can Google me, you'll find it. Thank you so much.
Yes. Can we get Katie? Katie? Katie?
My microphone, yes.
Okay.
To conclude, I think that our companies in Caribbean area have to be stronger, especially fashion designer, by having a dynamic team, because I know that the designers are always focused on their designs, but they have to build a strong team to help them when overall when we join this kind of crisis. Because having, like Liza Miller said, having a dynamic and innovative team help you to be proactive and to prepare, to be less surprised by this kind of events, you know, because, for example, somebody asks, how can you approach the Canada or and United States markets? When you have a sales manager, your sales manager can help you to introduce this kind of market, you know. It was my job before. So I know it's really important for a designer to build a strong team to comfort his company, to comfort his business, and to be sure he will be there again for more years, you know. So, and other thing, I think that we have to have regularly events with the different sector in the creative industry. For example, having a show with different partnership with designers, with fashion designers, with music, also to have a good music, also with makeup artists, you know. So it's what I was talking about when I said we have to go together in front of the world. So if we keep our different creative sector together, we will be stronger front in the front of the world, and we will be here. Because when you go alone in an event, okay, people said, oh, it's beautiful, but after we have to stay to have regularly events to stay in the head of people. So if we go together, they can retain that, okay, Caribbean people is really active. Caribbean people it's happened something in Caribbean region. So we have to go in Caribbean region to see what's happened exactly. So I think it's for us the time to move forward together and not everyone in his space and that's it. Okay, so that's my thought and thank you all. It was really interesting to discuss with you and have your feedback on what's happened exactly for you. It's really, and I'm really happy to know that every designers and every people in the fashion industry is move forward and stay positive. It's really important.
Good, thank you. I know Christine, are you still there? Because I know you have to bid the few. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, so you can do your 1 minute.
I will, because we have curfew and I gotta go.
We have curfew too, but I'm at home.
Yeah, but I'm not at home. So quick
okay,
thing,
so give you 1 minute.
10 things, guys. 10 things, especially to the designers. Number 1, the sky is no longer the limit. It just isn't. Number 2, no man is an island. You really and truly need a team. Number 3, collaboration is key. Number 4, you control your destiny. Number 5, embrace the setbacks. Embrace COVID-19 because it makes you stronger, or it will make you stronger. Number 6, there is no longer a box just to think outside of. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it. I think I'm at number 7. Speak what you want into existence, but know that you also have to put in the work to get there. All right. Number 8, you are your own competition. There's no competition. You are your own competition. Focus on you. Get what you got to get done. Number 9, I'm the owner of Treffle. I started with nothing and I've grown. So if I can do it, you can do it. Just make it work. As Tim Gunn would say, make it work. And number 10, the Caribbean has the talent and now is our time to shine. So embrace it. I love you guys. Thank you, Sobers. Thank you, OECS, for everything. I think this was great. Hopefully the conversation will continue. Thank you so much, Richard. A pleasure seeing everyone and meeting all the new people. Love you guys. Thank you.
Good. What a good way to wrap up. And yeah, it was indeed a pleasure. Before we wrap up, let me just remind people that the series continues tomorrow on Thursday. Those of you interested in film and animation, we have a session at 4:30 on Thursday afternoon. And for all designers, please come back on next Tuesday. We have Dr. Leslie Noel, who's going to be leading a session on design thinking. So that is going to be important for every designer, every entrepreneur involved, not just in the creative industry, but involved in the productive endeavors in our region. So Leslie is going to take us through a session, but we're going to be doing that a little later though, because Leslie is on the West Coast of the United States. So we're starting at 6 o'clock next Tuesday. So just to remind you, on Thursday, we do film and animation from 4:30. If you haven't got the link, we can send it to you. You can send me an email. Those of you who have my email, it's sobers.esprit@oecs.int. So we can send you the link for Thursday. And next Tuesday, a very important session to be led by Dr. Leslie Noel. She's going to take us through a session on design thinking as a way to look at solutions for getting our region back into the mode of doing business. So I want to thank everybody for a tremendous afternoon, for a tremendous evening. Richard, first of all, it's good to have you and welcome to the family, Richard. Yes, we've been looking for a long time for you to join us. So we finally have you. And to all our panelists, Kim here, Tariva, Katie, Christine, yes, and to my staff at the CBU, to the staff at the communications unit and the IT unit have given us all the support to do this work. And of course, to the over 60 participants who joined in this afternoon, we really, really want to thank you for supporting this initiative and for coming on board and being there. We had a number of regional organizations this afternoon, just say that, including WIPO. We had somebody from WIPO who was there from all the way from Europe. So I don't think Carol is still on, but she was with us. Carol Simpson from WIPO was with us. We had Caribbean Export. We had also the Coalition of Services, and we had a number of our own OECS designers from all the islands, which is really tremendous. And we had a number of people from different parts of the region, as you hear, from Haiti, from the United States, and from Trinidad and Tobago and everywhere else. So really, thank you very much for really giving us a wonderful webinar this afternoon. And we just want to wish everybody a safe evening, and let me just say, stay safe. And let's rejoin again on Thursday. Those of you who are interested in film, and on next Tuesday, we're gonna look at design thinking. Thank you and good evening.